Yeah, right. Perfect. Yeah. It depends on the class. Some classes you just can't. Oh my goodness, look at all the baggies. We're going to go ahead and reconvene for open session. We do have 2 items to report out. The board voted unanimously 5-0 to approve the expulsion or stipulated expulsion for case number 23/24-5. We also voted unanimously 5-0 to approve a settlement agreement for OAH case number 2024-010482. Mr. Critchfield, do we have any deletions or corrections to the agenda?
We do not.
Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For presentations and recognitions, we have a lot to look forward to tonight. First, we have Educational Services, Mrs. Pichette.
Good evening. Hello. Okay. Good evening, Amador County Unified School community. Today, I am honored to stand before you to recognize some of our exceptional classified members and community partners who exemplify the Amador Gold Standard, growing opportunities for a lifetime of discovery. Our first recipient is someone who truly embodies this standard through her hard work, dedication, and unwavering positive attitude. Our first recipient is Melinda Hemmig, our outstanding Educational Services Administrative Assistant. She has been a cornerstone of support for our district. Her commitment and selfless service have been pivotal in ensuring our operations run smoothly, allowing us to focus on our mission of fostering educational excellence. Melinda's dedication goes beyond her job description. She consistently goes the extra mile, often staying late to ensure everything is in order, and always with a cheery disposition that brightens everyone's day. Her ability to handle even the most challenging situations with grace and efficiency is truly commendable. Today, it is my privilege to present Melinda Hemmig with this challenge coin as a token of our gratitude and appreciation. Melinda, your hard work and dedication are not just noticed, but deeply valued. Thank you for being a shining example of the Amador Gold Standard. Please join me in congratulating Melinda Hemmig. Continuing our recognition of those who exemplify the Amador Gold Standard, I am delighted to present our second challenge coin this evening. Our next recipient is Sonia Bakovich. Sonia is our student success technician. Sonia's hard work and dedication have made a significant impact on our students' achievements and overall well-being. She works tirelessly to support our students, ensuring they have the resources and guidance needed to thrive academically and personally. Sonia's selfless service has made her a beloved figure among students and staff alike. She is always willing to lend a helping hand, and her positive attitude is infectious, creating a supportive and encouraging environment for everyone she interacts with. Sonia, your commitment to student success and your unwavering dedication to our district's mission are truly inspiring. It is my honor to present you with this challenge coin as a token of our deep appreciation for your invaluable contribution. Please join me in congratulating Sonia Bakovich. As we conclude our recognition of those who exemplify the Amador Gold Standard, it is my pleasure to present our final challenge coin of this evening. Our third recipient is Erica Simmons. Erica is a dedicated community partner from our resource and referral agency, the Resource Connection. Erica's hard work and selfless service have been instrumental in supporting the youngest members of our community, ensuring they receive the care and opportunities they need to flourish. Erica's unwavering dedication and kindness have made a profound impact on countless families. Her commitment to providing essential resources and her ability to connect with children and their families with genuine compassion truly embody the spirit of the Amador Gold Standard. Erica, your efforts have not only enriched the lives of our youngest community members, but have also strengthened the bond between our schools and the community. It is an honor to present you with this challenge coin. Okay, we're going to take a picture. Okay, thank you. I need to take a picture of that with them, but should we do that after the block A's, or what shall we do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you guys mind waiting until after the block A's for a picture? Okay. Then we'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we ready for block A? Okay. Good evening again. Hello. It is my distinct honor to introduce this year's Block A Student Award recipients who have dedicated countless hours to community service, exemplifying the spirit of generosity and civic responsibility. If I can draw your attention to the screen, well, it'll come up in a minute. We are grateful to all of our community partners that have allowed our students to serve their respective businesses and entities. The Block A Award holds a rich history within our district. Established many years ago, it was created to recognize students who go above and beyond in their commitment to serving our community. These students not only excel academically, but also dedicate their time and energy to making a positive impact outside the classroom. This award symbolizes the core values of our district, reflecting our commitment to fostering well-rounded individuals who understand the importance of giving back. The recipients of the Block A Award have engaged in various community service projects, demonstrating leadership, compassion, and a genuine desire to improve the lives of others. Tonight, we celebrate these outstanding students who have not only met but exceeded the expectations of this prestigious recognition. Their dedication to community service sets a powerful example for their peers and reinforces the values we strive to instill in all our students. We ask that our recipients please come up and stay so that we can take a group photo at the end. And without further ado, our first recipient for a minimum of 135 hours is Hannah Anderson with 208.5 hours from Argonaut. So what I'm going to have you do is take that, and you're going to stay right over there. Next from Argonaut with 216 hours, Liliana Carson. Next from Argonaut with 200 hours, Destiny Davalos. Destiny Davalos. Next, with 170 hours from Argonaut, is Daniel Jacob Delina. Next, from Argonaut with 223 hours, Cruz Estrada. Next, from Argonaut with 196 hours, Lillian Favre. Next, from Argonaut with 203 hours, Jillian Nash. Next, from Argonaut with 144 hours, Isabella Richardson. Next, from Amador High School with 172 hours, Erilyn Hansen. Next, from Amador High School with 164 hours, Courtney Para. Next, from Amador High School with 174 hours, Luke Peterson. Next, from Amador High School with 138 hours, Riley Ristrom. Next, from Amador High School with 152 hours, Claire Tierpak. Next, from Amador High School with 142 hours, Riley Van Spania. Next, from Amador High School with 310 hours, Tegan Winchell.
So I think some of the ag kids are at their FFA banquet tonight at Amador, so.
They are. Next, from Amador High School with 192 hours, Andrew Frias. And last in this category of a minimum of 135 hours, from Amador High School with 182 hours, is Tabitha Nelson Rosales. Congratulations. Okay, we have several more categories, sorry.
Oh.
We have a lot
Okay.
today. Okay, next in our Block A is for a minimum of 270 hours from Argonaut High School with 416 hours of community service, Alexis Gabriel Figueroa. Next, with 390 hours from Argonaut High School, our very own student board member, Maeve Clement. Next, from Argonaut High School with 353 hours, Diego Lopez Cruz. Next, from Argonaut High School with a total of 445 hours, Aaliyah Pedersen. Next, from Amador High School with 360 hours, Elizabeth Bailey. And last in this category with 472 hours from Amador High School, Pandora Larson. Okay. Next category is for a minimum of 500 hours. First, from Argonaut High School with 574 hours. Go ahead, Haley, did you want to take a question? Okay, go ahead. With 574 hours from Argonaut High School, Zadok Epperson. Zadok Epperson, so sorry. Next from Argonaut High School with 500 hours, Khalees LaParade. LaPrade. Next with 628 hours from Argonaut High School, Hannah Madashaw. Next from Amador High School with 744 hours, and here helping with KVGC is Carter Brashear. That's not right. Hold on. And last in this category with 500 hours from Amador High School is Phaedra Perkins. One more category. Congratulations. All right, last category for a maximum of 1,000 hours or more with the highest award and a scholarship from Tupi from Argonaut High School with 1,129 hours, Andy Vo.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Pichette. What's the Tupi Award?
Tupi it's tobacco prevention, and so it's part of a grant that we receive, and so we're able to give scholarships out of it. Yes, they just have to sign a form that says that they will be tobacco free, and they can get the scholarship. Okay. Next. From Amador High School with 1,278 hours, and might I say the highest amount, our very own Morgan Chase from KVGC. And last but certainly not least, from Amador High School with 1,008 hours, Miss Amber Spinetta. Congratulations to all of our award recipients.
Thank you. I'm going to round up because we were only 7 hours short of that's 12,000 hours of community service by those kids tonight. It's amazing.
Jared, I don't recall seeing the awards go for over 1,000 hours before.
I think we've had it happen a couple of times, but I don't know if we've had 3 in the same year.
Wow. Okay, so it is exceptional.
Yes, absolutely.
Agreed. Congratulations to all of those students. So do they get cords for graduation for community service? Okay. So when you see the kids walk for graduation, they have different cords for different things. And one of them is for community service. They can get, the gold one is for CSF, life membership, correct? The gold stole. So there's, and I think there's more. So there's lots of different things that they can commemorate as they participate in graduation. I would love to know what they all are. Okay, thanks. Last recognition, Mr. Critchfield, student board member recognition for 2 years of service.
All right, Maeve, come on down. She's already been recognized for her community service. This is something that has not been around for a long time, probably about the last 5 or 6 years. We've had student board members, and Maeve has served on the board as a student board member for 2 years. If you're wondering what Maeve has been up to, she's not just a student board member. Maeve, what happened last week in tennis?
I won sections.
She won sections. So she won the individual girls singles title for the Sac Joaquin section in tennis. After 2 years of being this close, she made it. That's pretty awesome. So also academically, are you doing okay? Everything good? Yeah, yeah. If you didn't hear, Maeve is co-valedictorian at Argonaut High as well. So, and off to Cal, right? Okay. So we just want to take just a quick moment and thank her. I know from our perspective in working with the board, having the student perspective, and Maeve has not been shy about sharing her perspective. It is very, very intelligent and gives great insight and input. We love the updates and everything else. And with her busy schedule, as I just mentioned, 2 of her accolades, she still finds a way to attend the majority of board meetings. And if she's not here, it's always because she's, killing somebody in tennis or studying for an AP test. So we just want to take this opportunity to give you a little gift and thank you for your 2 years of service as a student board member.
Thank you, Mr. Critchfield. Thank you, Maeve. That concludes our presentations for the evening. Thank you, everyone, for coming to see them. We still have a photo to take for, did you get educational services photo, Mrs. Pichette? They're doing it now. Okay, excellent. We're to item 10, employee organizations. Mrs. Jensen for ACTA. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and congratulations to all of you.
I'll wait a minute if you don't mind.
Thank you. I've never seen that many. Yeah.
Feels like graduation, doesn't it? It's exciting. Okay, thanks. Thank you, members of the Board of Trustees, Mr. Critchfield, cabinet members, and community persons. I appreciate this opportunity to speak before you. My name is Jeannie Jensen, and I'm the ACTA president. ACTA members look forward to the mediated negotiations scheduled for June 3rd related to compensation. Recently, our newly formed organizing committee circulated a petition among our members at every single site, calling on the district to come to a settlement for a 5.5% cost of living adjustment. Over 95% of our members signed, confirming they're willing to stand firm to secure such a settlement. The district and ACTA have worked hard to come to agreement in ratification of our current contract, and we are diligently watching that it is followed. That's my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Jensen. Is Ms. Martz here for CSEA? No? Okay. For item 11, we do have one public comment on consolidation. Ronnie Gold.
Hello, my name is Ronnie and I have 2 children in the school district. Consolidation has been pushed until the year of 2026, and how these next 2 years will be so telling of what's in store for our future. Consolidation was sold to our community as this grand educational experience for our children. I watched some community members, staff, and teachers, etc., explain what a great experience and opportunity this would be for my children, and that they deserved campuses and education that would come from this consolidated experience. Many were sold on this idea and on board right away. Although it was first sold to us mainly for the benefit of the children, it soon switched tunes to the financial need for consolidation. Our 2 high schools were presented almost as if they were 2 failing businesses that would now mesh together. As you can quickly read between the lines, when you take 2 failing businesses and push them into one, does everyone get to keep their jobs? While conversations on the need for consolidation continue from a financial standpoint, beginning talks and threats from the state is going to come in and take over started to happen. And within the next sentence, almost the same breath, we begin discussing rebranding, names, colors for just the high schools alone, none of the other locations that are going to be brought into factor. I need you to make it make sense. How can you state that in one sentence, the state's coming to take over, and in the next, let's discuss colors and name for an unknown amount of dollars? If the state's coming and colors and names don't change, we have bigger fish to fry. The current fish that is being fried is our teachers. Board meeting after board meeting, I listen to the teachers get up here and ask over and over again to receive their COLA, which they are not asking for in full. They're trying to meet you guys halfway. I know you're all receiving emails about teachers that will be not returning to our district next year's, and I feel like our junior high and high schools are gonna get hit the hardest. One principal is going to be on the Jackson Junior High campus next year. These are very volatile years of a kid's life, and is this what's best? I'm hearing talk of only 1 PE teacher. Many of these high school teachers I hear are going to be doing a 50-50 split next year on both campuses to make up for the loss in staff. It was once questioned on this podium if consolidation was prioritized financially over the teachers and staff, and I think that's true. In my eyes, the perfect storm has been created. You are not technically firing a lot of these teachers per se, but you are kind of forcing them out. We're not going to have enough teachers to run 2 junior highs and 2 high schools in the next 2 years, and thus the need for consolidation. You guys are going to force teachers to plant their feet in the sand very soon and take a stand for themselves. And I just want to say, from the public's perspective, there is a lot more teachers and staff that are on the same page. And I say this because I have heard from a lot of them, and I just want to let you guys know that you are all on the same page if you guys talk to one another. Thank you.
Okay, so we don't have any consolidation updates tonight, correct? Okay, so that brings us to just our general public comment period. We do have 6 comments, 6 public speakers for tonight. I'm going to read the blurb, and then we will get started with those. A person wishing to be heard by the board shall first be recognized by the president and shall then proceed to comment as briefly as the subject permits. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on non-agenda items. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the board president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. So our first speaker is Mr. Greg Wall. Following Mr. Wall, we'll have Lori Thomas.
Good evening. As you heard, my name is Greg Wall, and I'm a teacher at Amador High School. I come to you tonight hoping to represent my site and their concerns regarding the degradation of programs and equity. We have no desire to stand in the way of collaboration nor suggest any concerns about Argonaut. We are, however, bringing to light decisions that damage established programs and call into question whether Amador students are losing equity. Undoubtedly, this is a time of upheaval and with swings in student populations and the need to adjust staffing numbers across the district. But there are still 600 plus students at Amador next year, and the long-standing work by dedicated staff to develop excellent programs are facing changes that were never discussed, brought to light, or open to collaboration. In reality, Amador has been completely in the dark. This can be seen in career technical education, which has been growing and expanding pathways at Amador. For example, the arts program has full-time teachers in visual arts, ceramics, and photography. Ag mechanics is bursting at the seams, and floor design has over 40 students registered for next year as well. What is unclear and exasperating is how the department chairs have recently been given information for next year that makes little to no sense, while counselors were completely excluded. If we go back to the 3 examples, then my eyebrows raise at the loss of an art teacher to just half time at Amador and those cut sections. Next year, there are more students seeking ag mechanics than workstations, and the combined advanced and introductory floral class is limited to just 1 section, which requires counselors to remove interested students from that class, and that also prevents them from completing CTE pathways. So, as an example, there are ripple effects at play here. Damage done now will mean a smaller program and less equitable opportunities down the line. Please consider our drastic step to speak in front of the board due to completely being locked out of the master schedule process. No counselor was involved, no department chair was consulted, and the information that came out was confusing and conflicting. Amador students deserve access to great programs and an education full of opportunities. Thank you.
After Mrs. Lori Thomas, next is Karen Fesmeyer.
Good evening, board, members. My name is Lori Thomas, and I'm a social science teacher at Amador High School. I'm here tonight to represent the 37 teachers and 2 counselors that are fighting for the 600 plus students that will be enrolled at Amador High School next year. We realize that the district has been faced with some difficult challenges, but we are very concerned that it might be at the expense of our students. Many changes are being made in all of our departments regarding our master schedule without prior discussion or open collaboration. What our campus will look like in August will be different in many aspects: teachers, classes, and programs. What I am specifically here to speak on are some components within special education. Honestly, I wish I could paint a clearer picture of what math supports will look like, but quite frankly, I cannot. No one in the SPED department is yet clear on what math supports will look like, but not for a lack of trying. They have worked diligently to understand the new expectations, and they continue to ask clarifying questions even as I speak. What I can speak on is a movement taking place in special education regarding inclusivity, with terms we call push-in and co-teaching. Push-in are students with IEPs push into gen ed classes with the support of instructional aid. Co-teaching is both the gen ed and SPED teachers jointly teaching the classes together, usually with a cap size, like maybe 25 total in a class, 10 students with IEPs, and 15 gen ed students. The district received a 3-year grant for co-teaching, and Amador was a pilot school. We received professional development, and Amador had several co-taught classes. I would like to highlight 2 successful classes this year. One was U.S. History taught with Stephanie Bramer and Matt Kantak. And they have, right now, their average grade is a 90%, as well as Gov Econ with Stephanie Bramer and myself. We just gave our supply test in economics, and the average supply test was 91% higher than my 3 gen ed classes. And they fight for the front row seat. Whoever is sitting in the front row? Nobody. They value that class as family. We celebrate them. And what is also been recognized in staff meetings and outside of our school is there's lower behavioral problems and better attendance. Here's the problem. In the master schedule that was just released Friday, there is no co-taught classes recognized in the master schedule. And there is just a push-in class. That's not co-taught, and yet we have a grant for 3 years. So there's really big discrepancies in the master schedule. What happens to that inclusivity that we're trying to work towards in society in general? So we may have major issues, and it was promised yesterday in an IEP meeting with a student that has U.S. history with Bramer and Kantak that he would have it next year in Gov Econ, and it's not on the master schedule. Thank you.
Mrs. Fesmeyer, and then we have Ronnie Gold again.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Critchfield, and Amador community. I'm Karen Fesmeyer. I've been teaching Spanish at Amador High School for going on 20 years, and I'm here today to advocate for the students at Amador High School. First, I want to say that I am and have always been a supporter of consolidation. I know that's not true across the board, but I believe in consolidation for our students. I was asked as a department chair to trust the process of the master schedule building this year. So I've done that. I've waited and waited and waited patiently for information that finally came out on Friday. And what I saw shocked me. The numbers show that Amador has enough sections for 8 Spanish classes. We're being offered 6, and I will be the lone Spanish teacher at Amador. I know, again, as a supporter of consolidation, I understand that difficult decisions have to be made. And I can concede that one of those classes is one of those hard decisions. The other one, I'm not okay with. 23 Amador students signed up to take Spanish 4. Amador is not offering Spanish 4. 4 students signed up for Spanish at Argonaut High School. I am not here to bash Argonaut, but Argonaut is offering Spanish 4. I do not see the logic in that. Amador students who have worked since before their freshman year to build their academic plan and set their goals for college and their futures are being told that everything they've worked toward could go down the drain. Not everything. That's an exaggeration. I'm sorry. They're being asked to drive to Argonaut High School. Number one, many of them will just choose not to do that because that will impact their senior year. Secondly, many of their parents, and I spoke to a parent today who said, there's no way my kid can do that. Their parents won't allow them to go. I have many students in my Spanish 3 class who are avid students, who are economically and socially disadvantaged. They don't have the means to drive to Argonaut High School. I understand that we have allowed students to go back and forth between schools. My own son did it his senior year at Amador. But that was because it was his choice to take something that wasn't offered at Amador. Spanish 4 has always been at Amador. Spanish 4 has always had a strong, large class. 23 students is a good-sized class for Spanish 4. I do not believe that it should not be offered. There is a simple solution.
Your 3 minutes are up.
Ms. Julia, I have a question. Is there a procedure to allow more time to hear? I know it's a very slippery slope of choosing what, but
I'm happy to entertain a motion if you want to. How much more time did you need, Mrs. Fesmeyer? 30 seconds?
I'll move to allow her extra time.
Thank you, Mr. Crow.
second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, Mr. I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call vote. For the advisory vote,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Crow?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
Aye.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
I'm also a yes.
Thank you, Board. I appreciate the time. As I said, I don't believe this is an economic decision, and I think that there is a simple solution. The teacher that we have shared this year, Mr. Morrison, could simply teach Spanish 4 at Amador. He could be allotted a non-study hall class, which is done many times in order to solve a lot of issues, to give him time to transport to Argonaut and fulfill his duties at Argonaut High School. I know that before this information came out, he was very willing to teach Spanish 4 at Amador High School.
Thank you, Mrs. Besmeyer. Following Mrs. Gold is our last public comment from Brianna Hooper.
Hello again. I wanted to get up here and publicly say this because I know that I get up here and give you guys a lot of guff, and I don't always see eye to eye with everyone. And I wrote this before I realized that Tori was going to be gone. But I did want to say, coming from a mother's perspective, I ran into Tori in a public setting, and I just wanted to extend, and I know there's always a lot of tension in this room and we don't humanize each other, and I did run into her, and she could have told me to easily kick rocks, but I had concerns. The campus that my kids attend, there's been a lot of stuff going on, and as a mom, I went up and approached her and had questions, and like I said, she could have told me to kick rocks. She answered my questions, and I just wanted to extend a thank you, which, because she's not here, I will do an email. With that being said, I'm going to tread lightly with the next stuff I say. I am just hoping that when situations occur and we throw in the ed code and equal opportunity for learning for all kids, I understand that from the moment we are born, we are not all dealt the same cards. And there's different kids dealing with different things, and things come up in school, emotions, everything happens. And I keep that all in perspective while I'm fighting for the rights of my own children. I feel like the school has done a good job taking care of the problems that are going on in my son's class with these specific students. And because we're getting towards the end of the school year, and I don't know how this works, I am hoping that whatever plan is being followed for these kids when school returns next year, that these same processes are still happening and the kids aren't just being integrated and they're like dropped into the classes again. I was not aware of all these problems because I'm dealing with my second grader, and when I ask him how school went and he tells me I had a pizza pocket, I don't care about that. I want to know the details. And so recently things have gotten a little more rough. So he's let me know the details. And I feel like it has affected him. Again, I'm all for good learning moments and fear being put into kids. They need to respect adults and authorities. So I'm hoping that the school follows through and helps out the students that need a little more TLC, and that they're not just dropped into the classes next year. But I wanted to give kudos because I know sometimes I'm a little rough up here. Okay, thank you.
We do appreciate you. I already pushed your card to the side, so I don't want to get your name wrong, Brianna. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Brianna Hooper, and I am a current sophomore at Amador High School. This following school year, I will take the role of ASB Vice President and ASB President my senior year. I would like to speak on behalf of my concern of the potential shift of one of our ASB advisors, Ms. Pettis. Ms. Pettis has been a huge contributor to our ASB class and school environment. I believe that the possible absence of Ms. Pettis on our school's campus will not only affect her classes, but the school as a whole. Her radiant and positive energy has made an immense impact on our school, and her prior ASB experience has helped with the planning and structure that is needed to go into all of our ASB events. I believe that her leaving would be very impactful to the success of our ASB class and overall success of the students at Amador High School. To conclude, the uncertainty that me and my fellow classmates are facing regarding Amador High School staffing and class options, including our arts department and foreign language classes for the next school year, should be addressed and hopefully result in a clear vision for the following school year. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our speakers tonight. This brings us to the consent agenda. Since our student board members were not here last meeting, we are going to ask you to not make motions on the consent agenda going forward. Just if it happens to include HR items, we don't want to have any confusion over whether we're just going to not have a question, okay? Are there any questions on the consent agenda?
I was just going to ask if I could make another comment to the public comments. If I could, like, build upon them.
Okay. So can I ask you to do it during your board report?
Sure, yeah.
Will you make a note so you don't forget?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Because I want to hear it. Okay. For the members of the public who are observing the meeting, we are not supposed to respond to non-agenda public comment because it is not on the agenda. However, we can add things to our board report at the end of the meeting. So that's why that's going to happen that way. That's for Brown Act. Okay, so consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions on items on the consent agenda? We have lots of things on there tonight. I would like to congratulate the 2 retirements that are noted. Congratulations to Glenda Compton, who is retiring from Jackson Junior High. And also, I saw Christine Coons from Pioneer Elementary. Congratulations. If there are no questions, would one of the trustees please make a motion?
I'll move that we approve item 13, the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Crow. For the roll call vote, we'll do the advisory vote first. Ms. Patterson?
Yes.
Ms. Clement?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Crow?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
Aye.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Okay, for communications, I didn't see any, correct? We are on to discussion and action items. First, we have sunshine proposals. Again, this is a labor negotiation item, so our student board members will not be making motions on these. They can still vote with the advisory vote. Dr. Palazuelos.
Good evening, trustees. Presented before you are the sunshine proposals. There are 2 of them. One is from the ACTA to the Amador County Unified School District, and the second is the Amador County Unified School District to ACTA. These are the articles that both groups wish to negotiate for the 2024 to 2025 school year for their successor agreements.
Thank you, Dr. Palazuelos. Did we have any questions about the sunshine proposals? This is a normal part of labor negotiations. It's one of the legal steps that they have to go through, and we've seen this before. Okay, if there are no questions, then we can have a motion.
Do we have to act on these, Dr. Palazuelos? Or are these for information?
These are part of the discussion action, so ultimately you're accepting the items.
Okay, thank you.
So if we can have a motion to accept the sunshine proposals?
Do we do them separate? Can we do like A and B?
You can make a motion to accept them together.
I'll move to approve item 15.1 A and B, sunshine proposals for 2024-2025.
Thank you, Mr. Crowe.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Parker. For the roll call vote, we'll do the advisory vote first. Ms. Patterson?
Yes.
Ms. Clement?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Crowe?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
Aye.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Okay, that brings us to a resolution. Mr. Critchfield?
Yes, thank you. This is the tax revenue anticipation note. This is something that is done yearly in the district, and this has everything to do with cash flow, not budget. So how we are constructed in public education is our main source of revenue comes from the local control funding formula. And the way the state of California operates is there is a complicated formula that figures out how much of your local property taxes contribute to your revenue. And so this is what happens. As an example, for this year, we're anticipating collecting through the county, through Amador County government, about $32 million in local property taxes that go towards our roughly $48 million in local control funding formula. That money does not come in even disbursements. As we know, most property taxes are paid in December and April. And so what happens is you start the year where your budget might look fine, but the majority of your cash revenue has not come in. And so these notes are set up in such a way where they have less than a year term on it. So we borrow the money and then we pay it back within the same fiscal year. But they're set up in this way so that we could start the year with having enough cash, because we don't pay our employees only in December and April. I don't think that would go well, right? So we pay evenly over the months, yet we're waiting on the majority of our cash flow in December and April. And the board has passed this resolution every year that I've been here. This is my 7th year in the position. And in the 7 years on the district side, there's only been 1 year where we did not take the note. This gives us the authorization to borrow up to $7 million, but as we get closer to the moment when we borrow and analyze cash flow, we will borrow less if that's what's needed. 3 years ago or 2 years ago, we did not take this note because we had just received a bunch of stimulus money coming out of COVID. And so that money had yet to be spent, and so it created a situation where we had enough cash to not take the note. The board had passed the resolution in the spring, but when we moved into the new year, we did not take it. And so we're asking for your approval of this resolution for a tax revenue anticipation note, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions about the TRAN?
Yeah, I had a couple emails just regarding this, just asking and double checking that this particular note is not related to consolidation in any way.
No, not at all. You can look back at every board meeting in the spring in the last 7 years. This is all about cash flow.
Okay.
Would you like to hear my annual complaint?
Yeah, normally
about the
Julie and
way-
I have
I
this
think I know what you're
conversation.
going to say, so please complain away. Yeah.
Yeah. So the state likes to make a budget, and then they say, schools, we're going to give you all this money, but then they don't. They wait, and they say, you still have to have teachers and classes and school and pay everybody and pay the PG&E. However, you're not going to get your money until like January or something, or even later, or maybe even you're already out for the year and we'll give you the rest of it. And then sometimes they say, oh, we said we gave you too much, and now we're not going to give you all of that even. Now we're going to change the amount. So that's how school funding actually works. I don't know why it's legal. I am shocked to learn that the first time. I'm shocked every time Mr. Critchfield tells us that this is how it is. I am shocked that we continue year after year to allow it to happen. And I don't know why is it me that's shocked? Why aren't we all shocked, right? So one of the ways that we get around this is we have the TRAN. It is affordable, and it is through the partnership we have with our county. So
Correct.
Just real quick, so when we talk about this though, do we have to now pay interest to the government for their stupidity?
No, the government doesn't gain the interest. The investors that award us the note are the ones that gain the interest. So if you would like I will try to be polished because we're in a board meeting. If you would like my editorial comment on this, I'm happy to share it.
Sure.
The simplest solution would be if we're going to use local property taxes and on the surface show those as state funding, because it's a state formula that says here's your money, but then they use a large chunk of that, like again, 32 of the 48 million is actual Amador County local property taxes. Then what would make the most sense is the state would front us the money, interest-free, until we get our local property taxes in, and then we pay them back. But they don't do that. And believe me, I sit in many CBO roundtables, and we advocate for this. It's for the most part fallen on deaf ears, and there's this whole little arm of the system that is set up with these investors that do tax revenue anticipation notes, and it truly is, in most years, the only way to have enough cash on hand. Because we have two things going on. The majority of what I present to you is always budget. We don't talk a lot about cash in the
So
meeting.
it's legal loan sharks is what it is.
You could say that. So
It sounds like the mob. I mean,
I mean,
there's one way to look at it, yeah.
don't hate,
So
hate the game.
So this is set up in such a way where we talk constantly about budget and not a lot about cash, right? But cash is, you talk to any business owner, right? What's the term? Cash is king, right? And just like any business, we can say the budget line has the money. If the cash is not sitting in the county treasury, we don't have the money, okay? And so the way our revenue works is it is not an even flow of revenue. It is that large portion of our money, essentially 2/3 of our revenue, comes in two disbursements in December and April, and not evenly throughout the months of the fiscal year. And that's what creates this challenge.
Where would a district have to be to not even entertain something like this?
We would, as you notice, we're borrowing up to $7 million.
Correct.
That's with reserves of projected to be around $3 million. So I would say we would need reserves in excess of $10 million.
Is that doable even in the great districts? Do they have reserves in excess of 10 mil?
so they, correct me if I'm wrong, they have laws that have a minimum and a maximum
Yeah.
for your reserves, because some districts they'll put so much into reserves
Right.
that they're not allowed to do that.
What did you say is the highest district? What was it, Monterey or something?
Well, that gets into a whole nother ball of wax.
Okay.
And that's called a basic aid district. So what happens in the state formula is if your local property taxes bring in beyond the state formula, that organization gets to keep the excess. So when you're in Monterey County, and we know properties are a little more expensive than they are in Amador County, right? So when they do their formula based on the number of students they have, the state says you're going to get this much money. Then they do the formula for property taxes, and the dollar amount's more. Those Monterey County school districts it's kind of a misleading term, basic aid, but what it means is they're not receiving any state money for the local control funding formula. It's all local property taxes. So they fall under a completely separate set of rules. As you notice with our local property taxes, we're at roughly 32 million and the revenue's 48. We're a long ways away from being basic aid. I don't think it's anywhere in our near future. But yeah, but there's a lot more to that, James, but in essence, that's the situation with a district like that.
Now, James, you said something, and I want some clarification. You said that we would need about 10 million, but you get to a district that may be a little larger, like Elk Grove, that 10 million is like 2
Well, it's going to be a lot
million.
more than 10 million, right?
Yeah. So it varies by
Yeah, that's-
the size of your district.
Yeah, for us, it would be 10 mil.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, even though we have a budget, you know, in excess on the district side of 60 million, it still boils down to, like you would with any business, can you pay your people and pay your bills? And you have to have the cash on hand to pay your people and pay your bills, right? And so that's essentially what happens. We have quite a few employees that get paid 12 months out of the year, but there's a law that says you can only get paid in the months you work. So we also have a lot of 10 and 11 month employees, so they don't work in the month of July. So July payroll is our smallest, but then once we hit August payroll, I mean, it's a couple $1 million a month in payroll to be able to pay everybody. And so, yeah, you just, without that property tax coming in until December, we just don't have enough cash on hand to make payroll and to pay the bills.
Is there a bad or a negative to districts who choose or don't have to utilize this by the state? Will the state find a way to make them be reliable on their stuff?
No, I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions about state takeovers, and I mean, some people say we talk about it a lot. I don't. I mean, that's not, I mean, my main job is to avoid that. There's also an ed code that says if there is a state takeover, I automatically lose my job. So I have a little bit of motivation there, right? And so when it comes to state takeovers, it's actually not about budget. It's about cash. So state takeovers occur when a local educational agency does not have enough cash to make payroll. And so the state then steps in and says, well, you have to pay your people, so we're going to loan you the money to pay your people, and now we're in charge until you pay us back. So that's actually all about cash. Now, of course, budget impacts that, right? I mean, if you have an upside down budget and you're spending too much money, you're going to get to a point where you don't have enough cash. But the actual reason for a state takeover is you don't have enough cash to make payroll.
And what does this cost?
There's the issuance. It's in the documentation, James. I'll have to pull it up. What we do is that we invest this immediately and begin to earn interest on it as we pay it out. So in most years, it ends up costing us less than $10,000 to borrow the $7 million because we're able to leverage some of that as we're spending it down. And then by the time we turn around, it's such a short-term loan. We keep it in that under 10, no more than $20,000 range typically of the cost.
So, at the end of the day, it costs us about $10,000.
Yeah, it does.
On average, right?
10 to 20, I would say.
And we use this whole $7 million somewhere in any.
Well, no, this is what will happen. This is an authorization to borrow up to $7 million.
Right.
So then what we'll do is as we get closer to the point where we need to borrow cash, we'll assess the whole situation. And in most years, we won't go all the way to the max. But we put that in there because we don't want to run out of cash, right? So we might only borrow $5 or $6 million of this $7. But we ask the board to authorize up to $7.
Right.
So that we're prepared for that situation.
And the cost, no matter what we spend.
No,
is
the cost
still
will go
about-
down. If we
Okay.
borrow less, then the cost of issuance will go
Right.
down.
All right. Makes sense.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Then we are ready for a motion, and the student board members are welcome to participate.
I move that we approve item 15.2, the tax and revenue anticipation note for 24-25.
I'll second. Thank you. For the roll call vote, we'll do the advisory vote first. Ms. Patterson?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Clement?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Crow?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
I'm also a yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so you have our remaining two items back to back, Mr. Critchfield. We have third interim budget revisions.
Yeah, there's an attached document that lays out the budget revisions. As you know, at second interim, the board approved a certification as a qualified budget, which means over the next 2 out years, so next year or the following year, we may not meet all of our financial obligations. What that does is impose another interim budget on the district, and so we are required to report by June 1st a third interim budget. And so these revisions, as you notice, the majority of them the changes are somewhat small in nature for the most part, as we're adjusting the budget as we get towards the tail end of the year. This takes all expenditures through the end of April, which means what you're seeing today, even though it's referred to as a budget, is actually 10 months worth of expenditures and only 2 months left of budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions on those revisions.
I have to turn. I
Yeah,
don't know
it-
how to rotate the page
It-
on the iPad.
Did it come up sideways for you? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Sorry. I feel like a boomer.
On the on the second one, I believe it was the second one. I had asked if this budget includes current offers with union negotiations, and does that stand with the third one as well? Nothing's changed.
Absolutely. Yeah, but it's already budgeted the direction the board has given for any sort of increases to salary. That's
Right.
already built in.
Are there any additional questions on the budget revisions?
What is our 3% number?
That'll come up in the next item.
Oh, okay. Then it comes to that.
Yeah, I can answer that.
Are there any additional questions? Okay. We're ready for a motion.
I move to approve item 15.3, third interim budget revisions.
Thank you, Mr. Crowe.
I'll go ahead and second.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. For the roll call vote, we'll do the advisory vote first. Ms. Patterson?
Yes.
Ms. Clement?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Crowe?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
No.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Mr. Marzano, did you wish to elaborate?
No, same reason as the
Okay.
second one and the first one.
Okay. And for our final discussion action item, we have the budget certification. Mr. Critchfield.
Yes, so this is an interesting budget certification. It's actually by Ed Code. Once you certify as qualified for second interim, you're not allowed to change it at third interim. So I hope this doesn't seem like an I got you, but it is the situation that you're in with second interim, where because we're already certified as qualified and that's been concurred by the state, we remain qualified. And so again, those revisions that you just approved are in there. Mr. Whitaker asked about reserves. This is not about how we're going to complete this year with being qualified. It's the concern for next year and the following year. And so we are projected to have our 3% reserves. The reserve standard is just under $2 million. 1.975 million is what we're required to minimally have. And we're projected to have 2.847 million. And so that's not a super healthy reserve, but it is beyond the minimum. The concern, again, is we have one-time monies, that we have employees that we will continue to pay out of, and if those continue, not next year, but the following year, could become problematic. We also received training yesterday. We had a workshop on the May revision to the governor's budget. And so I will provide a more lengthy update at the June board meeting on the May revision of the budget. Obviously, I was not able to get all that information in the board agenda since we had the training yesterday. And as we're dissecting the state budget, one of my concerns is the governor is now using a term called the Prop 98 maneuver, trying to figure out what maneuver exactly means. But there are some interesting things going on with our state budget. They proposed a 1.07% COLA. There are certain funds that will not receive that COLA. There are other potential grants and things that will be rolled back. And so we will, as we build the budget for next year, there are a lot of decisions that still have to be made when it comes to the state budget. The budget does not get enacted until July 1st. We are required by Ed Code to submit our annual budget by June 30th. And so we actually have to submit our annual budget prior to the governor enacting the budget. And so depending on how that goes, there's authorization to do a 45-day revision of the budget. And so we're going to keep a very close eye on this. The economy is not doing as well as anticipated. There are taxes that have come in lower than projected. And so again, right now, a 1.07% COLA is very low compared to what we've experienced over the last few years. And there are items in the May revision that remain unanswered. And so we will do our best to compile a budget based on the best information we have. And that has to be presented to you twice. And so we have two board meetings coming up in June June 12th and June 18th. And so those will be presented concurrently with the LCAP. That also has to be presented at 2 board meetings, and Mrs. Pichette will be presenting on the LCAP, and then I'll present on the budget at both of those meetings. And so again, the request is that you certify as qualified, which the state has already concurred with, and then we will have much more information in June.
Mr. Critchfield, I too have been following the Prop 98 maneuver, if that's what it is, and I'm very concerned about that, whether it's going to survive the court challenges that some groups are out there. And I know, looking at it, they're going to say that, oh, we've already given you money, but you're going to have to pay it back over the next couple of years, so it's not going to come out of be funded in the next couple of years. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, the current, what he put out in the May revision is for this fiscal year, for 23-24, the state actually had $5.8 billion less than they said they were providing. So they're not cutting that, because I don't know how that would work since the year's almost over. But what they've come up with, this is part of the maneuver, is over the next 5 years, essentially, that's getting paid back. And he's trying to use some language in Prop 98 to do this maneuver. And as you mentioned, there's already a court challenge on what he's doing.
Can you refresh my memory what Prop 98 is?
So Prop 98 has 3 tests. There's test 1, test 2, and test 3, and it's all based on proportions of the state budget. It was intended to be written in as a floor for education funding, where it would guarantee, based on conditions of the state budget, and again, you follow either under test 1, test 2, or test 3, and then that would be the minimum amount of state money that has to be put towards the education budget.
All the time?
Yes. In the majority of Prop 98's existence, while it was intended to be a floor, it's operated also as a ceiling. And so it becomes, well, that's our number. And so because we were not required to spend any more. Of course, there are exceptions to that. They have gone outside Prop 98 for things, so I don't want to say that that never happens. But for the most part, Prop 98 has not just been a floor, it's also been a ceiling for education funding.
When we say maneuver, are they trying to maneuver that floor lower, or what is the situation here?
My educated opinion is yes.
Cute. Okay.
Cute. I have another question. I don't want to bring politics into anything ever up here.
Well, this is political.
Okay. Are you? So this is very much
political. They play
administration
politics.
based? Like, does it change based on whoever's over there? Like, what do we?
I mean, it's the governor's budget.
Okay.
And it has to be approved by the state legislature and then enacted.
All right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different maneuvers that can happen in a state budget, right? And priorities can be set one way or another, right? And our reassurance through the years has been Prop 98, that we can bet on at least that's going to be the minimum.
Really?
But if there's a maneuver that is already being challenged in a court, like it looks like maybe we're going to get less, that's a problem.
I mean, I don't know how you get much worse than we're going to pay this out over 3 years, or we're going to claw this
5
back
years.
after 8 months.
5 years is what he's saying.
But yeah, so things to be aware of, vocal about as the time comes. Are there any additional questions?
I move that we approve item 15-4, the third interim budget certification as qualified.
I'll second.
The advisory vote, Ms. Patterson?
Yes.
Ms. Clement?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Crow?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
No.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
I'm also a yes, and Mr. Marzano as custom. No?
No.
Okay.
Same reason.
All right. We'll always offer.
I appreciate the offer.
Absolutely. That concludes our discussion action items and brings us to one of my favorite parts of the meeting. We have board reports. Mr. Critchfield?
Yes. First, Dr. Gibson, she mentioned this last board meeting, but for those who didn't hear, she's attending the wedding of her sister-in-law. Apologizes that she could not be here. Still fully engaged in what's going on. I talked to her today. for a good chunk of time as well. So that's where she's at. She'll be back next week. I want to do a couple of thanks. First, staff appreciation. We had a lot of our parent-teacher organizations and other booster clubs provide things along with a small district contribution to staff appreciation that our principals did. I want to highlight Plate 88. Plate 88 provided meals for the Pioneer staff. Yes. I want to highlight them because they provided it at no cost to any parent-teacher organization or the district. They just provided a meal for the staff, which is pretty awesome. So I want to thank Plate 88 for that, and maybe we give them a little business for their generosity towards our wonderful school in Pioneer. All right. Not that anyone's counting. We have 11 days left of school. Just wanted to say that. And having said that, we have our graduations coming up. Board, you are informed of that. We have our co-valedictorian from Argonaut sitting up here as well. And so we have Independence High School and Community School and Adult Education and North Star as a combined educational options graduation. They do a phenomenal job of that. They get their own evening. That will be Wednesday, June 5th. All the board members are invited to that. Then June 6th, we have both of our junior high promotions at Ione Junior High and Jackson Junior High. And then at Amador and Argonaut, we are staggering the times again. And so those will both be on the evening of June 7th. I am driving the district van again. For any interested board members, we'll take the big white van from one school to the other if you want to attend both. And no one's called shotgun yet. So Kayla called shotgun. You called shotgun? All right, Kayla, you have shotgun. Okay.
I have
We're
a
going to
question.
insist.
And I feel it's an amazing change to the two high school graduation times. When that was decided upon, was there any communication or conversation regarding the times swapping as well?
Oh, it's swapping from year to year?
Meaning,
So like
Argonaut
Argonaut
gets
goes
PM
first and, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we asked last year, and it was one of those things we thought both might choose the same time slot, and they ended up choosing different ones, and so that's what we stuck with this year. But we can talk about that for moving into next year if we want to flip-flop them.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
If there was.
Yeah, but the survey last year came in as the majority who responded for Argonaut wanted the earlier time, and the majority for Amador wanted the later time, and so it made it
Who are you
lot easier.
surveying? Kids, adults, or kids, teachers, parents?
Parents.
All of the above?
Yeah.
Parents?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to ask our student board members if they have a report. Ms. Patterson?
Okay, I would like to add another student perspective to the comments made previously. Being on campus with all this going on has left Amador with the concern of the loss of our dear staff and uncertainty of courses and classes for the upcoming year. Many areas have been brought up, and I believe them to need serious attention considering I have questions myself. One being, why do the 23 seniors at Amador who want to take Spanish 4 have to drive to Argonaut for 4 of their seniors without any offered transportation for that class when the ratio is more in Amador's favor? My older sister takes classes at Argonaut, and she's late for her 3rd period every day because of that drive. Another question I have is why our art teacher, Miss Condon, is limited to 1 art class when she has 3 art ones this year. I feel bad for the students in the art program who may be denied their opportunity due to the possibility of the voiced change. Being an inclusive student that has been left in the dark with the unknown of how the next school year will turn out, who will be there, and what classes I can take, it feels like I don't have an expectation of what the next year's school year will bring. This year, I had an expectation on who I would see and what my classes would be like, but as of right now, having a cement idea of Amador is up in the air. It leaves students with the concern of the abrupt changes that have little resolutions that could affect them greatly. I believe we need to ask these questions so we could have an understanding of the answers. And that was just a comment. And then I'm going to go off my ASB report for the school.
Of course, yes.
Okay, so in ASB, for the past month, we've been working on the Y games day that we've been planning for so long and we've been working so hard at. And it's on May 30th. And it's where like we have a lot of vendors and we have a bunch of like sports games and like esports, and we have like a bunch of like activities all throughout the school day for like students to interact with. And it's really fun. And I'm arranged a calendar for the next like school year, and we are like lining up dates to like organize everything for next year. And I was going to congratulate Amador's tennis team for winning sections in the Division I, as well as May for winning the section individuals. And then for Amador's track team, Elliot Traxler is representing Amador at state for discus, which is a very huge accomplishment. AP testing, for the most part, has been concluded with a heavy weight now lifted off of most students' shoulders, including myself. The review for drama, I went last night, and it is so good. Oh, my gosh. I went with all my friends, and we had such a good time. But there's another show tonight and tomorrow night, if you guys want to go. Most of the avid seniors went to Disneyland for grad night, and they had a lot of fun. My sister went, too. And they like stayed in a hotel up there, and they just had like a lot of fun. And then the next senior trip for like all the seniors is at Great Wolf Lodge on May 30th. Oh my gosh, 30th. And yeah, they're just gonna have, my sister's really excited about it, so yeah.
So they won't be there for the Y Games?
Well, the Y Games is the day before. So they're going up the next day.
Oh.
Yeah, so we kind of planned around it so they could like go. Yeah. And that's all.
Ms. Clement?
Yeah, so I actually have quite a bit to report on, just because there's a lot of activities coming up with the end of the year, or the year coming to an end. So like Peyton said, these past 2 weeks were AP testing weeks. So I know a lot of AP students are very relieved to be done with their tests. I have one more late test because of sections, so that's on Friday, so I'm very excited to be done with all of our AP tests, but I know people are very relieved to be done. Last Wednesday, we had our annual scholarship night in the NPR, which was a super great event. I'd actually never been to scholarship night, but it was super well run. I want to give a big shout out to Mrs. Putnam, who is our career and college technician at Argonaut. She organized the entire event and helped all of the seniors through the process of applying for scholarship application or submitting their scholarship applications. So she did a great job. The event went super smoothly. If I remember correctly, I think they said that they gave over $135,000 away in scholarships, which is a ton of money. So I know that'll be a huge help to a lot of seniors who are planning on continuing their educations in college or trade school. So that was super exciting and a super great event. Last Thursday, we also had our FFA banquet. So many of our seniors were recognized for their service to the FFA organization throughout their 4 years of high school. They also introduced next year's FFA officer team, which was super exciting and got people really looking forward to next school year. We also had a bunch of our senior avid students go to Disneyland for grad night. So hearing them talk, they all had a lot of fun going to Disneyland for a couple of days. They were very exhausted coming back because I think one of the students said they were there for like 18 hours straight. So they had a lot of fun though. We've also had some super standout athletic achievements this spring. 4 Argonaut track athletes qualified to compete in the Sac Joaquin Masters meet. So the previous week they competed in divisions. We had 3 athletes take gold medals. So Jake Todden won the boys shot put. Holly Berghart won the girls long jump. And Shayna Avila won the girls shot put. And Zoom Wilson got 3rd in the boys shot put. So we've had a lot of good track athletes. So that's been super fun to watch them. We also had, I don't know if this is the first time this has happened, but we had an all-Argonaut Motherlode League girls singles final in tennis. So myself and my teammate Lily both made it to the finals, and we played each other for a league title, which was super cool. It wasn't the way we expected it, but it was fun. And then we both went on to play in the sections tournament, so that was super cool to be there together and have that last tennis tournament for our senior year. Tomorrow night we have our annual Powder Puff football game, which I'm super excited about. We had to do things a little bit differently this year because we had a ton of people who wanted to participate. So we have a JV game at 5:30 and a varsity game at 6:30. So the past few weeks we've been having practices, so I think the games will be super great. And I'm especially excited to see the boys do the cheerleading performance at halftime. So you guys are all welcome to come watch. I think it'll be super fun. But yeah, there's also a lot of events coming up with these past 2 weeks of school. We have our CSF trip next week. We have our senior trip the same day as Amador's on May 30th, and we're going to Santa Cruz. And then graduation is the big hoorah. So I'm super excited. It's been a great school year, and I've really enjoyed my time serving on the board. So I thank all of you guys for allowing me this opportunity. I feel like I've learned a lot and grown a lot as a person. So I'm just super grateful for this experience.
Thank you so much. Okay, Shane.
One, not much of a report, just to have a request. I'd like to get additional, at upcoming board meetings, I'd like to get kind of a, I don't know if it's a checklist or a list of benefits that consolidation will bring to the district, including our various programs. There was discussion about the ag program. I would like to hear more about how improvements can be made for that, and also other departments, just so that we can seek the best opportunities for our students.
Okay. Ms. Parker?
I don't really have a report, but I do have comments. And I've thought a lot about if I was even going to speak about this today, but it's been weighing on me, so I've never really been able to be quiet about something if I kept thinking about it. I'd like to start with saying that keeping kids safe at school without a doubt should be the top priority at every single school that any child attends. We see things happen on the news, we get potential wind of threats on our own campuses, and I think it's only natural to wonder what's going on, want answers, especially when it affects your own child's campus. Social media is a place where a lot of people get their information. I'm a social media user on the daily, unfortunately. So I do understand the urge to jump right on. But I also, in the last few days, have seen comments and things that I just can't get behind. Calling for elementary students' name and information to be posted on social media, calling for a 10-year-old to go to Mule Creek for some tough love, bashing a second grade student without actual factual information on the internet by adults. As someone who's worked in a classroom and with many children from many walks of life, I think sometimes people might not understand some of the circumstances that some of these kids come from. Circumstances like myself, who have lived far longer and seen more of life, cannot even begin to understand. The fact that some of these kids are even able to roll out of bed and function each day is remarkable. Sometimes I think we become oblivious to these facts because of the community that we live in, and the fact that we're not making these comments to actual people, we are saying them with a keyboard. Today, to conclude, I am grateful that I have kids who have a full belly, family and friends, and are tucked into warm bed every night, because there are more than you know in this community that do not have that. And so please keep that in mind.
Mr. Marzano?
I appreciate that, your words, Kayla. I want to talk about the Argonaut FFA event that Maeve spoke about. I attended it, and Argonaut FFA hosted over 300 students, families, and community members for their end-of-year spring banquet. I'm new to the FFA world. It's an amazing opportunity for these kids, and especially for this area. It's opened my eyes to many things. I think it's amazing. This banquet is student-ran and presented. They had over 35 students present awards. State officer was in attendance. I found out that was a pretty big thing. I found out what a state officer was. Awards for pathway completers, seniors earning grad cords, certifications, competitions. The dinner was provided. 4 ag students got elected into Mother Lode section office from our district. So when this parent was explaining it to me, she broke it down in a football type of scenario. And I better understood that of what that meant. So that's a big deal. 4 ag students got elected into Mother Lode section office. I was told that that's actually like not common for 1 normally, but for 4, it's like, oh, wow. So that's pretty cool. And they represent 12 schools, chapters next school year. So sitting there talking with the parents and the kids mostly, what they're doing and how they're doing it, I really appreciated that invite by, I think Ms. Woolsey is the one that invited all of us. Stellar situation, stellar program. I'm very grateful to have been in attendance to that. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Whitaker?
No report.
Oh, that was anticlimactic. So I have had a crazy week. I am really in awe of the accomplishments of our students that were highlighted tonight. I have never personally seen community service hours like those we heard announced tonight. I am so proud of those students and what they give to our community. And it really, also in the recent board meetings, it's the first time, I know we've been doing the challenge coins for a while, but it was the first time I had seen someone decide to reach out to someone who was not a district or county employee and reach out to really highlight and recognize how we partner with government agencies in our community, how it really reflects that education doesn't just happen in the classroom, that it truly does take a village, and it takes our community partners, it takes our public agencies, and it certainly takes our parents who are a vital piece of that. But and then when I see the HR report, and a couple of times throughout the year, maybe 3 times, you'll see all the coaching stipends. And if you've ever coached a kid's sport, you know the hours that are spent not just on the field, but at home planning that season, and all the many, many hours, and the stipends are so small for that. And that's just all those hundreds of hours that more volunteers are pouring love into our children. And I'm so grateful that we all just willingly give like that. Graduation is upon us, and it's my favorite thing as a board member to participate in the ceremonies, 3 nights in a row, and I love every one of them. And Friday night is Sober Grad. If you have never considered graduating, I would love to encourage you to see if they need a volunteer for an hour or 2. My son was in a head-on collision in Rancho Murrieta, and they believe that alcohol was involved. And it's so close to graduation. So I'm always anxious these weeks leading up to graduation because, you just hold your breath. And so I am encouraging everyone to support Sober Grad this year and stay safe. And I'm so grateful for this community. That being said, I'm going to pull up the next meeting date. It is Wednesday, June 12th, scheduled to be held at the Amador County Administration Building here. Open session will start at 6:30 p.m. We are adjourned. It is 8:04. Thank you so much, everyone. Do you guys need a break? No. No? Okay. We're gonna pause for a moment, and then we're gonna continue with the county meeting.
Bye. Good to see you.
See you guys later. Wet?
They're pickles. Yeah,
They're wet?
They're dill pickles.
Where I'm from, let me turn that.
Okay. We are going to go ahead and call to order the Amador County Office of Education meeting. It is 8:07 or 8. I can't quite tell from here. 8:08. We are all present, except for Dr. Gibson. We have Mr. Critchfield standing in. Mr. Critchfield, are there any deletions or corrections?
There are not.
Okay, and do we have any presentations and recognitions? I don't think we do. No. Okay. I don't see Ms. Matheson?
No.
No? Okay. And so neither of our labor organizations are present to comment. We have no public comment cards. Brings us to the consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda for the county tonight? Then, are there any retirements on there, Mr. Critchfield? Do you remember?
Oh, on the consent? We
you have
can,
an HR?
it's under information at the
Oh,
end.
it's going to be
We'll-
under
we
personnel
can look at
number
it at the
11.
end, yeah.
Okay, all right. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve item 8, the consent agenda.
In a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. For the roll call vote, Mr. Crow?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
Aye.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. For communications, we did not have any to present tonight. Brings us to our discussion action items. We have a resolution for, it's a companion item for the TRAN. Mr. Critchfield.
Yeah, so this is in the amount of no more than 1.5 million. Same concept as we discussed in the board meeting, the district board meeting. I do want to clarify that the last 2 fiscal years, we have actually not borrowed any money on the county side. County budget is so much smaller.
Say that again.
We have not, the board has authorized a TRAN the last 2 fiscal years. We have actually not executed that note.
2 years.
The last 2 years, we haven't needed it. And so again, with the county budget being significantly smaller than the district, making cash is sometimes something we can, I was just going to say maneuver, but I want to come up with another word because that got used earlier in a different way. So anyways, you know what I mean. So we're asking for your approval.
Are there any questions for the TRAN for the county?
I'll move to approve item 10.1, new resolution ACOE 2023-24-07, 2024/2025 tax revenue anticipation note.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, for the roll call vote, Mr. Crow?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
Aye.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. So
Thank
Mr.
you.
Critchfield, would now we're to the third interim budget revisions.
Yes. So just like on the district side, we're going to follow the same pattern. We have budget revisions for our third interim. The county was certified as qualified back at second interim. And so that we've made some updates. This is our actuals through April 30th and then projected expenditures for the months of May and June. And you'll notice some slight modifications and revisions to the budget. And I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Do we have any additional questions for Mr. Critchfield? If not, we are ready for a motion to approve.
I move that we approve item 10.2, the third interim budget revisions.
I'll second.
For the roll call vote, Mr. Crow?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
No.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That's 4-1.
Thank you.
And for the third interim budget certification, Mr. Critchfield.
Yes. So again, just like on the district side, we are qualified. We will remain qualified until at minimum first interim of next fiscal year because you don't certify, I didn't say this in the district meeting, you do not certify as qualified or negative or positive at the annual adoption. It's just the board adopts the budget. Interims are where the board would certify. And so the next opportunity the board will have will be at first interim in December. And so again, the county budget is quite a bit smaller than the district budget. Total projected expenditures of 11.2 million. The reserve standard for county offices is actually 1% higher than districts. So districts is 3% of all expenditures. County offices is 4%. Even though it's a percentage higher, because of the much lower dollar amount in expenditures, the actual reserve standard in dollars is only $450,000. And so we're projecting $524,000 in reserves, which meets the standard, but again, remain qualified. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
If there are no additional questions for Mr. Critchfield, we are ready for a motion.
I'll move to approve item 10.3, certify the third interim budget as qualified.
Is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Crow?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Marzano?
No.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Thank you.
So this brings us to the information only, the current personnel recommendations.
I don't notice any retirements.
There are no retirements on the county side. However, I would like to thank all of our employees who are going to work the extended school year into the summer. There are many, many listed here. Thank you to them.
Speaking of retirements, though, I should have said this in the district meeting. I apologize. We do have a retirement celebration planned for Thursday of next week, May 30th, from 4 to 5 p.m. In the past, we've done it both ways. We've done it at the beginning of a board meeting. The feedback has been the evening hours or this time of year. There's a lot going on. And so, precious is a good word, yes, Julia. And so this being just shortly after their workday ends, we've done this before and had better attendance, so we hope to have that. So this will be in the Argonaut High School multipurpose room from 4 to 5 p.m. Another bonus, if you notice in the invite, snacks and refreshments will be provided. That will be provided by the Argonaut Culinary Program. So the students will be putting that together. If you've had anything that Mr. Garcia's students prep, that's reason enough to go along with celebrating our retirees. And that's celebrating retirees, whether they be certificated, classified, management, district, county office. It's all one retirement celebration from 4 to 5 p.m. next Thursday, so a week from tomorrow.
I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
On the current personnel recommendations.
Yeah.
Certificated, what is ESY 2023? What does ESY mean?
Extended school year. So what happens is in a student's individualized education plan or an IEP, they may have written in there that the team concurs that there will be too much academic regression if they don't go to school at all during the summer. And so then they will attend 15 days in June. It actually trickles in, because we don't end until June 7th, it trickles into the first couple days of July this year. So they get done, I think, July 3rd. It's like right before the holiday. And so ESY, so we need a lot of our special education staff to continue to work.
Yeah.
They come back and we have stipends they get paid and their regular rate and all that. And then they run these special education classes for 15 more days in the summer.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Notice it takes a lot to run ESY.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking.
Yeah, it takes a lot of staff. We are appreciative of them for doing it.
So, did anybody want to make an additional report? Mr. Critchfield?
I do not have an additional report.
All right. Trustees? Okay. If there is no additional report, oh, you do?
I just
You
thought
didn't
it,
make one before.
I just thought of something. Wanted to thank all our CSEA employees for CSEA Employee Week. So thank you for the job that you do, both
Yes,
county and
absolutely.
district.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. So our next Amador County Office of Education meeting will be Wednesday, June 12th, tentatively scheduled to be held here at the Amador County Administration Building. Open session will start immediately following the district meeting. We are adjourned. It is 8:17. Thank you.